Hello, hello, hello.
Uh,
Okay, let me switch the application. All right, Nacho, you want to get it started?
Hey, welcome everybody. This is the home studio lighting workshop with Cortlin Barrow, pro cinematographer. It's going to help you get your home studio into shape. What is CreatorCamp? We're a creator community focused on helping you start and grow your content creation business. Lots of free classes, events, and workshops, some limited to supporting members like boot camps and labs.
Bear with me. My computer is quite slow.
And so we're part of Skill Camp. This is a nonprofit organization with lots of free low-cost classes. And I'm going to post some links to the other sister servers in case you're interested in other stuff. We've got Script Camp, Film Camp. Oh, you may want to refresh because I think that's the older version.
It is.
Refresh your screen.
It is. It's
Oh,
so.
no. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Oh, never mind. You got it there. Okay, yeah. Then I'm just going to post the link to the other partner servers here. Give me 1 second. And there you go. So we have Word Camp, Film Camp, Script Camp, Tune Camp, Code Camp, Lingo Camp,
Oh,
all
wow.
kinds of camps.
A lot of new camps.
Yeah,
Take advantage of this, guys. They are great people, and they will teach you the ways for any of these camps. This is amazing that you have new camps.
yeah. Um, and we got animation lab, free animation lab in Tune Camp. That meets every Tuesday. Got Joel is going to be teaching beginner coding bootcamp starting January 8th. If you're interested in coding, this is for total beginners. You just jump into it. And coming up in December, so the rest of the month and next month, we have some free screenwriting classes. Writing your first page tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Pro screenwriter Connor Kyle. We've got a Script Camp Christmas Pitch Fest. When you pitch your movie idea and win some prizes, December 21st at 6 p.m. And if you've got a Christmas idea, movie idea, you probably get some extra prizes there. How to sell your movie idea, Wednesday, December 28th. Inside the TV Writers Room, this is Friday, December 30th. The best protagonist for your movie idea. So this is about how to match your protagonist with your idea for a movie, or how to adjust your idea to fit the protagonist. And that's going to be a great class on January 6th. We've got a TV pilot boot camp and a feature boot camp. So it's for write a feature screenplay in 8 weeks from start to finish, from idea to finish first draft, or a TV pilot. So that's the first episode of a TV show in 6 weeks. So these are coming up in January. And all these are free classes. So be sure to drop by.
I might actually stop by for the best protagonist for your movie idea. That's something I've always been interested in. So yeah, I will be there.
Great. Awesome, man. How to help Skill Camp. There are 3 things you can do. Number 1, donate, become a supporting member, get access to all the boot camps and labs. That starts from $29 a month with yearly discount. Or volunteer. Do you know a skill or a language you'd like to teach? Just message me or Connor and let us know. Even if it's something it doesn't seem like helpful, like, hey, I know English. Okay, we might start some English classes too. Or whatever skill that you're interested in teaching, let us know. And 3, tell your friends. Refer somebody. Both get a free month of unlimited. That's like all the camps and labs, plus free Arc Studio Pro. And a little bit about Cortlin Barrow. He is a California native, been working professionally in the film industry for 7 years. Fell in love with filmmaking at 15 after joining his high school's production team. Set his sights on work in the industry, foregoing college, and soon was hired as a grip on his first feature film, where he provided a great attitude, problem solving skills to create a smooth, efficient environment. Got multiple job offers out of referrals from other crew members. Been working as a gaffer and a director of photography, and working on feature films, TV series, commercials, including such award-winning titles as The Risk Takers, Madness Incarnate, Until Death, Show Me Something, and coming up, a brand new TV series and a brand new feature. Anything you can share about that, or is it top secret?
It's top secret right now, but there is a TV show pilot that I think will it's gonna be perfect for its time. The other one is a short film. Is a game show based in hell. I think that's gonna be it's more like comedic value. Um, I would say it's more like around the Coen brothers and how they shoot their films. So I can't really go too much into it, but yeah, that's it. Awesome, awesome. Well, hello, I'm Cortlin Barrow, and for anybody that doesn't know me, I am a cinematographer, and I'm going to be helping with setting up your home theater, room, studio, however you want to make it look as best as possible. And what we're going to be talking about is what you're shooting, what's your budget, are you using green screen and blue screen. Sometimes it's for just playing video games and you want to stream on Twitch and you want to hide that background. You don't want people to see that. You just want to see you, the chair, and the game or whatever you're streaming. Sometimes you want to get creative and you want to do a photo shoot and you might want to do stock motion. I'm going to help you set that up without even having to need the big film tools. But yeah, so what are we shooting? Are you shooting products? Excuse me, one second. My thing is freaking out. But what are you shooting? Products or inspect commercials? Product photography? Or are you streaming and video content? And this can you can do all this on a budget. You don't need thousands of dollars to accomplish this. You would see some of the most beautiful spec commercials done so simply by going to Home Depot and just building a few lamps or just grabbing a lamp that's like for 25 bucks because these cameras are so sensitive to this day, you can capture high level imagery. All right, well, what's your budget now? When you talk about lighting, now if you have a big budget and you have thousands of dollars, then you could go and buy something like an aperture light. They're very big in the indie world, and what I mean by the indie world, the independent market for making lower budget type of content. Their stuff ranges from $200 to $2,500. Now, why is that? Is because of the things that come with it. The presets, being waterproof. I'm pretty sure none of you guys are going to be streaming outside under a tree where there's water, where there's a big rainfall. But hey, if you are and you want to hit that market and be different and stand out in the world, you can. And you can use an aperture light. It will never die. It won't fizz out. It's there to last for excuse me, for 15 years plus. Um, Now if you want to go to tube lighting is was inspired from fluorescent tubes. You know, back in the 80s, you've probably seen back in the days, maybe even 10 years ago, where you would see this green looking fixture hitting this old restaurant, and you'd be like, oh, what's that light? Is that an LED? Well, no, it wasn't an LED. LEDs are so new, but they're also super expensive. And tube lights are replacing fluorescence because you need to plug up fluorescence and it's not battery powered. But hey, now you can get you an LED battery powered for $89 to $100. And if you want to go more expensive, now that's just up to you. You can spend $4,000, but there's plenty of tube lights that are super cheap. Or you can even get you a panel light, excuse me, which is only like $114 up. And panel lights are big soft source lights. Now, some of them come with diffusion, some of them come without diffusion. But what I like to do when working with LEDs is not actually using the diffusion they give you, but like going to a dollar store and getting a cookie sheet and just placing that on there, and that's your frost diffusion. Now, that's still the same diffusion they would use on any kind of film light or any product stuff, right? But I like to have control. It's just really depending on what you want. But for your range of budget, you can make those things happen. Um, Now, for lighting green screen and blue screen, you always want to separate your subject from the background. So, there's a lot of times where I see streamers that have these big green screen, like oval looking things where they attach it to their chair, right? And there's no light hitting it. And sometimes you'll see them move and you'll see wrinkles within the green screen that they're using. And you'd be like, why is that happening? Well, it's not supposed to happen because the green screen is not supposed to be attached to the subject. But that's a new thing they'd like to do because people don't understand. What you want to do is set it about at least 5 to 10 feet from you and then place lights to light that individually to cover your whole frame, however you're going to frame that. And then you light yourself separately. So say you have a green screen behind you, 10 feet behind you, and you just have like at least one LED panel light or some tube lights just hitting that, just enough so it can get light and it can see it. And then you have one on your desk behind your computer. And then you can have a ring light or a little small flexible panel light. They have those nowadays where you can get off Amazon, which is really cool, really light, not in a way, but extremely bright. Um, but that's also tying into do not wear green. If you're ever wearing green and you have a green screen behind you, you're going to become the green screen and they're going to think that you have superpowers and you become invisible woman or invisible man. We don't want that. Now, if that's an aesthetic that you're going for, you can. You know, rules are meant to be broken. But if you're trying to stay standard and industry standard, just like all the other streamers, separate yourself, light yourself individually, and you'll be like it will come out amazingly, especially if you have a female talent and depending on the content you want. You don't want to light them with this really harsh light that doesn't really bring out their beauty. Everybody's in ways we all are insecure on how we want the light to look. So set yourself up for success and not failure. Separate that light and create your own light for yourself and you'll have beauty lighting.
I have a question.
Yes.
What about casting shadows on the green screen?
Well, see, that's why you would separate yourself from the green screen. You don't want to. That's why you have it 10 feet apart versus hooked up onto your chair. Because now, when you're blasting a light that's supposed to be meaning to hit you, now you're casting shadows. But if you're standing away like this young lady is here in the blue, she's standing at least a good 10 feet away from the green screen, and they're lighting her individually. They're giving her a nice hair light that also separates her from the background so you can tell oh she's not leaning on the background, but also they're giving her a nice key light that's coming from camera right, but also a fill light from under to fill in the blemishes and the drop shadows that you don't want to see on a female talent. But then also you see in the back here you have two Kino flows. Kino flows are fluorescent tubes. I still like using them, but again that's like the tube light LEDs that you can use for $89. And these are actually just lighting the background itself.
So if you're, let's say, for example, like what Connor uses is like a little tiny green screen that clips onto the back of his chair.
Uh huh.
So in that situation, you should just use like kind of a very, very soft light because that otherwise it'll some shadows on there or something. Is that what you
Right.
suggest?
You
Or
would you would well if that's your only option, yes, use soft light as much as you can. And the reason why is like it's not about like removing the shadows as well, but with digital sensors, hard light is not pleasing. It's super sharp on the edges. It doesn't look right. That's why you see with a lot of content of commercials, news, they're always lighting the broadcasters or the talents with soft light. It's because it's very forgiving on the digital sensor. But for Connor, yes. I mean, I would heavily advise Connor to take it off the back of his his chair, but he might not have room in his space, so he only has to resort to doing that. I would just say use passive bounce lighting as much as you can, and what I mean by that is bounce, bounce, bounce. If you can bounce your lighting, it will come in softer, but it will also look beautiful and it would also spread wider versus you have to bring in two fixtures to fuse that and try to get rid of the shadows.
so for someone like, let's say, Connor's situation where he's got like basically he's just sitting in front of a desk, right?
Hmm.
Like you're saying passive bounce would say like put a big white sheet, like kind of at an angle next to his computer or something?
No, well, necessarily you don't have to necessarily do that because I think most of us have white walls in our houses or somewhere like that is it's in that range. So he would just have to get two LEDs or maybe one. LEDs are very powerful, and just instead of aiming it at him, he turns it around and hits it against his wall. And now,
Oh, cool.
because the light source, the light that's coming out of the source, that's the light. But as soon as you hit the light against the wall becomes the light source. So you can do that, and you can dial it in by dimming it up and down to get the right exposure that to make it look really pleasing. And people are gonna think that he's in some $1 million studio, and all he had to do is turn the light around from hitting him to hitting the wall. Just that easy.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Any other questions from Joel, Faye?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
yay, I unmuted. Okay. I guess my question is tying into kind of like the cameras you would describe being used in some of these scenarios.
Mhm.
So like so I would take like kids' photos for photography,
Mhm.
for a while. Um, and a really small space was like a 10 by 10, but the white wall thing you said was helpful. But now for like and I would use an old what do you call them? The Canon DSLRs, right?
Mhm.
But now I'm looking to do some like cooking videos for my mom who's
Mhm.
trying to do some nutrition stuff. And I'm looking at the lightings you're describing and I'm wondering what you're describing for like a really simple and a small kitchen. Would you be suggesting this sort of types of simple lighting and bouncing off the wall more for cell phone videos, like with my iPhone, or like would you suggest um, like a mirrorless camera, or would you suggest not none of those and just going straight to getting it like a full video, um, like 4K video camera?
That's a good question. So I would say is if you have the money, go get yourself a mirrorless camera. It would save you so much headache. You can take photos and you can also shoot video. And all these cameras nowadays shoot in 4K. Um, and they're way more sensitive than a DSLR. Um, but now if you don't have that, it's okay. If you have the nearest iPhone, like iPhone 11, iPhone 12, and higher up, you're gonna make a beautiful image regardless. So it really is depending on like what you can afford. Now for your lighting, how it all depends on how you're shooting this content. Are you shooting this content as if like how Pepsi is, where they're shooting a can and they got this water mist and it's spinning and they got this beautiful light reflecting off of it to really show that I really want that Pepsi, right? Or do you just want to do like what normal people would not normal, sorry, excuse me, what people used to do back then was just shoot what they're in their kitchen. They have a wide shot and they're just cooking the food and they might do a cutaway and they're looking at that. What you could do is get a couple LEDs, maybe one or two, and just bounce it in the ceiling full blast, and there you go, because your kitchen's already gonna have light. And these digital cameras are super sensitive, so you can bring up the ISO. Even your iPhone's gonna adjust to the light. But it's really just depends on how stylized you're trying to get with shooting the food content.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I think initially my imagination was, since such a tiny kitchen, I was going to do sort of like just regular, follow the recipe with her.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, you're now giving me ideas to also just play around with, steam and, stuff I would do before for photos.
Yeah.
Um, okay, cool. Because I was looking at some used mirrorlesses. So
I would
thank you.
highly recommend a Fuji X-T3 and X-T2. I have the X-T3. I bought this camera during COVID. I'll be honest, I don't use it as much, but when I do use it, it never fails me. Um, I love that camera.
Fuji X. Okay, I thought everybody liked Sony. Okay, Fuji what?
X-T3.
XT3. Why do you like that over Sony?
I Hey, listen, I'm not a fan of Sony. I like XT3 because it brings the aesthetic of film. It also has a better sensor when it comes to color reproduction, but that's my own biased opinion. Now, I would say if you are looking up cameras, do your research, but the XT3 is small, it's a mirrorless, and it does many wonders. And I would say look up some video examples on how to shoot food content, and you can get inspiration from there, and also look up examples and videos and put side by side comparisons of like what camera you like better. But personally, I like the Fuji X-T3.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome, awesome. Any more questions, Joel? Nacho? Awesome. Well, there you go. That was the end of the slide. But yeah, again, like anything you're trying to do, always really think about what am I shooting? How am I going to shoot it? How much time do I want to put into it? And how creative I want to get with it. And from there, you can figure out, okay, well, from LED lights, just go on Amazon and just look up LED lights. And number one thing I always tell people is when you see those LED lights and you look at the price, go do your research and understand what these lights do and why they're important and look at the reviews. Especially when you're buying something at that level. And I would say never go cheap on a light. If you want it to last long, or any piece of technology, if you want it to last long, you're gonna have to spend a pretty penny.
So yeah, if either of you guys want some specific, I don't know, feedback or coaching on your own like specific lighting setup, you're welcome to sort of describe what you have and see if, Cortland can help you, or you can post a picture of your setup or like the room that you're trying to light, or, anything that you'd like help with, Cortland, you're welcome to post in the chat
Yeah, feel free.
or
Yeah.
just, or verbally describe it if that's easier.
Yeah, so where I am, directly in front of me, so I have my computer in front of me, and then just behind the computer I have set of blinds, a window, and so, sort of where my house is, in the morning it's fine in terms of lighting, when in the afternoon as the sun's setting, the sun really shines in, and so, you just have, I guess what's the best way of being able to manage the sun and that sort of thing, and get that good lighting.
That's a good question, and that's an advanced question, but I'm gonna answer it. Um, I would advise the sun is the best source, but if you're sitting in your room and you're doing more like studio based work, you want to have as much control as possible. Yes, it's
Yeah.
nice to have the sun come through and give you this nice, beautiful ambience, but that's not the type of content that we're going for when it comes to in home content. So you would actually want to remove that by having some black curtains or some colorful curtains, even if you see that area, and just remove that and bring in some LED lights that can just be on your table behind your monitor. You don't even need a big stand and create like this big mess in your room. You can just do what I had told Nacho about what Connor can do with his lights. Take the light, bounce it off the wall in front of you, and it'll give you a nice return, and it's gonna look great. And now if you say, well, it's getting there, but it's not as soft as I want to, then what we call a book light, we would add another cloth behind the actual fixture that's bouncing into the wall, and that's what you call a book light, because now it's bouncing off the wall through the diffusion into you or into the talent, and it's creating this really beautiful seamless look. Now, what could you use for this type of diffusion? You can use a curtains. You can use your shower curtains. Well, no, don't actually go rip down your shower curtains in your shower, but you can use a sheet. You can use cookie paper that you can go to the dollar store and grab that you make your cookies with. You can get tracing paper and use that. There's so many ways. You can even go to a fabric store and look at different types of fabrics and find the most thinnest one. You have polyester, and you can put that in front of it. It's going to look beautiful. I will also say, if you guys are always trying to figure out how you want your lighting to look, I think the best thing is walking around in your house, looking at how the construction, the people that build the place, how they light the area. Is it really beautiful? Is it really bright in your room? Okay, turn off all your lights and really look at how the lights are coming through your window. What's it doing to your room just with your bare eyes without the camera? Because then you're going to build this sensibility, this sense of like, okay, I know what I want, I know how it wants to look. Now all I have to do is do that. You know what I mean? So these are the questions you should really ask yourself, and also train your eye. Go outside, and I know we're doing studio work, but go outside and see how the light hits your face or someone else's face, or when you're in a car, how does the sun and the atmosphere reacts with you? Because from there you can understand the quality of light, and you can apply that to your in-home studio content. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. Thank.
Mhm. No problem.
Hey, I have a two-part question.
Yes.
I guess it's one involves um, like these adding lights, and one would involve how to get rid of light.
Mhm.
So there's a someone I know who was asking if I would try to do. There's this thing they call like sort of like short romantic like poetry films or something.
Mhm.
So I've never done one, but the idea of trying one is fun. So I looked at examples and I saw that, a lot of people will shoot them in like spaces already. They're kind of like hotel rooms. There we go. And so when I've gone like for fun on my cell phone and tried to light before, I'll either just swap out like a light bulb in the existing lamps or something, which is fine for the spaces if it's that space. But my question is, because they tend to have like a dreamy look, right? What would somebody do on a camera they're holding, especially if you have two people kind of walking around, but I'm trying to keep this sort of dream state lighting, so everything else is kind of toned down, but I want their faces lit, and they're moving, even if it's slowly. And then second part of the question, if there's a portion of one of those stories that continues outside and it's daylight, which the sun is usually too harsh,
Mhm.
um, what might I do as a part two to kind of keep that dreamy effect so that it kind of makes sense with that sort of previous interior kind of sort of more subtle to semi darkly lit dreamish kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yes, this is a great question, and I hope you come to Painting with Light today as well if you have time. Um,
So,
but I can tell you what I do, right? If we're shooting, if the director says, "Hey, I want something that has high contrast, but it's supposed to be this dream state, and it's these two lovers, but they're walking around." One thing I would do is set up my camera and see how much exposure I'm getting, right? Where is the talent going to be? Look at the blocking. And then from there, I would say, okay, it's dark. I mean, I would walk around my light meter. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you don't have light meters, but on your cameras, on your DSLR, you have a spot meter, and it'll tell you you're 1 or 2 to 3 stops under, or 1 to 2 to 3 stops over. And you can, kind of use that to build what your lighting wants. So normally when you see movies, you have this very moody lighting. It's because they only have one light source, and 9 times out of 10, it's coming from the window. Now, obviously, you can't put a big light outside the window like I can on a condor, but what you can do is what they did in Tree of Life is use an app where it times the sun and where that sun's gonna be at in front of your window, and you can use that, and you can take some LEDs if it's not going far enough where you want into the room, but it's also illuminating a part of the room. Just take some LEDs and just blast it to where you need it, where the talent's going to land, to help elevate that light that's coming through the window. And the digital sensors are so great is because they're so sensitive and they can shoot those things that are like a stop under or two stops under or three stops under, and you'll still have that information there. And I would also say practice, 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 practice. Before you even decide to go do a job where you're trying to do this, maybe grab a niece or nephew or brother or sister or somebody and just play with that, and then go into the computer and play with, see, okay, how much information I have in this image from there. How much can I do? How much can I bring back? And then when you go outside, I actually did something where I did something similar like this, where we started from the kitchen, and the big brother is greeting his sister and little brother at the table for breakfast, and it's kind of like a more moody sense. But he opens up the door, and his friend's at the door, and as you open up the door, it's completely bright outside because it's the sun. Well, I exposed for the outside. And then what I did was just took a bunch of lighting fixtures and bounced it into the ceiling to add that same balance that we got in before, and it doesn't look different. So when he opens up the door, you can see his friend, and his friend is not being blown out by the sun from behind him. And that's how you do that. You can use neutral density filters, which is, it's like sunglasses. They have different variables, different stops. You know, you have 3, 6, 9, 1 point, I think it's 1.2, 1.5, and higher, like the 1.8. So those are the things you can do. Now, that is more of a thing I can show you if you come to painting in a light. I can really show you how we, from step by step, do that. But that's how you would do it if I'm explaining it in a short way.
Okay, cool. So you're saying for the outside, kind of like with photography cameras, use those filters to bring outside down.
Hmm.
And then you're saying take artificial lights, add inside to, you're saying bounce to the ceiling to raise the light in inside to match outside.
Well, just to give you enough levels so you can see in the room. Because once you add that neutral density filter, and as you as a photographer, you know
Ah,
you're in a room, it's gonna come pitch black. You'd be like, oh my god, I can't see anything. But as soon as you open that door, you're gonna be perfectly exposed. So all you just need to do is get enough levels so you can see in the room with that neutral density filter, and they're walking to the door, and there you go.
interesting. Okay, so you're saying the neutral density will be on everywhere, indoor and outdoor.
Yes, it
Okay.
would be there to help you combat that light that's going outside, because you might be doing a one, let's say hypothetically you're doing a one take, right? They're sitting up, they're waking up, and the sun's hitting them, beautiful sun's hitting the face. The girl goes and walks to the bathroom, the guy's putting on his shoes, still beautiful sun, right? And then they come out and they open up the door and they go outside, and you're following them outside. Well, you need to make sure everything outside is exposed, but you also got to make sure that beautiful sun that you want coming through in the morning is hitting them just fine, right? So those are the things you have to think about, right?
Was that app called Sunseeker?
Sunseeker, yes.
Sunseeker for, oh, the one you say to measure the light of or time of day,
That's the
or
time. That's actually the time where the sun's gonna be at. Nacho, is there a way you can post that Sunseeker app in
Yeah,
the
I
chat?
just posted it.
Okay, yeah, and that will you can I can do it right now where I can look up where the moon's gonna be. Obviously, there's not gonna be any full moon, but I can look up today what tomorrow's sun path is gonna be like, and it's going to tell me if you go here, this is where the sun's going to be at 12 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, the sun is always going to be above you. Always going to be above you. But as you start to go down and down and down, it starts to get lower, and then you start hitting sunset. And obviously, since it's winter now, the sun drops faster. But yeah, does that answer all your questions?
Okay, we've got a cinematography class starting in about 10 minutes. That if you guys have time, I know it's very late in neck of the woods, Joel. So I'm not sure if you can stay up if you can. So Cortland's teaching painting with light, film camp server, and we just posted a link. Hopefully you guys can see in the chat. That's going to start in about 10 minutes.
Yes, I would highly, highly recommend you joining this because everything that we talked about on the basic standpoint, we're going to go into it more advanced. Even though it's still basic, but it's more on the advanced side, and you see how the film world works because everything that we do in the film world comes from real life. It comes from photography. We're inspired how photographers tell stories through one image. We just do it in multiple frames. So it'll be interesting to see. It was like, wow, they have these big lights, but why do they need these big lights? But a photographer doesn't even need a light. And that's another thing we're heading to now is a lot of films or more confident and established filmmakers are saying, hey, let's just use natural light. One, because they have time and money. If you don't have one of those, it's going to be hard. But yeah, if you're a photographer, stop by and just sit back and see how it goes and see if you like it and ask your questions if you have any. Awesome. Well, is that it, Nacho? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us. We don't know yet the schedule for the next kind of home lighting workshop class or other classes on Creator. We do have this film clamp class starting in about 10 minutes. Everyone's invited to join us. And there will be more like free classes, all of our different servers and stuff in the next few weeks, and a brand new beginner coding bootcamp starting on January 8th with Joel here with us today. So thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully we can catch you in the painting light class. And if anyone's having trouble, like finding where, get over to the other server or whatever, and just message me or Cortlin, we can help you make your way.
And also, if you guys want to see any more in-home lighting studios or any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Nacho, and so we can base these courses around your needs and your worries. Um, and if you a lot more of you are interested, please come in the Discord, and I would love to interact with you guys and talk and really just figure out creatively how can you make your in-home studios look for however you're trying to do for in-home photography, family poetry, streaming services, spec commercials, anything. I'm here. So, thank you for coming, and hope to see you in painting with lighting.
Okay, we have someone from Twitch. Autumn is asking about joining. Yeah, the cinematography class is going to be on a different server. So let me post the link for you in Twitch. Give me
And Nacho, can you also post the Twitch in this chat, please?
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, shall we head over to the other channel, or you want to take
Oh
a little
yes.
break?
Oh yes, we
Grab
can
us something to
head.
drink.
We'll head directly over there and we get everything started and set up.
Okay,
Awesome.
awesome.
Don't forget to